Are eggs good for your health? As we know that eggs contain a variety of nutrients and each of those nutrients have specific benefits to our body. As we can see here, total fat 11 grams. That is the nutrients in a boiled egg per 100 grams. It contains 155 calories, 11 grams fat, 3.3 grams saturated, 1.4 gram polyunsaturated, and 4.1 gram monounsaturated. Cholesterol 373 milligrams. We will get back to this later. Sodium 124 milligrams. Potassium 126 milligrams. And total carbohydrate 1.1 grams. Protein 13 grams, and a lot of other nutrients like vitamins. Vitamin A 10%, calcium 5%. This is the percentage daily value. So it contains vitamin A 10% of the daily value for an adult, calcium 5%, vitamin D 21%, vitamin C 0%, iron 6%, vitamin B6 5%, magnesium 2%, and cobalamin 18%. I don't know what this is. Cobalamin is also called vitamin B12. Okay, my mistake. And B12 is very important for nerve tissues, and its deficiency can lead to anemia and permanent nerve and brain damage. So eggs contain all these important and essential nutrients. So why is there even a debate? Well, let's see some other things which egg contains. It also contains iron, and there are two kinds of iron: heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is the iron present in animal products, and non-heme iron comes from plants. Heme iron is more readily absorbed in the body. It absorbs faster, but it has some negative health effects compared to non-heme iron, and egg is a good source of heme iron. As you can see here, the two forms of dietary iron are heme iron and non-heme iron. Heme iron is found only in meat, poultry, seafood, and fish. Heme iron, the type found predominantly in blood and muscle, is absorbed better than the non-heme iron that predominates in plants, but may increase the risk of cancer, stroke, heart disease, and metabolic syndrome. This is from nutritionfacts.org. There is also a study which was done on heme iron, and let me just get to that study. This is the one. This is from ncbi.nlm.nih.gov, and the title is Heme Iron from Meat and Risk of Adenocarcinoma of the Esophagus and Stomach. Iron can cause oxidative stress and DNA damage, and heme iron can catalyze endogenous formation of N-nitroso compounds, which are potent carcinogens. Dietary iron promotes esophageal cancer cancer incidence in animal studies and has been identified as a growth factor for H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori bacteria, which which creates a risk factor for stomach cancer. So as you know, H. pylori bacteria, which is found in almost half the population of this planet, is associated with an increased risk of stomach cancer and various other ailments like gastritis, ulcers, and acidity damage and such. A lot of people have this bacteria and it doesn't affect everyone in the same way, but for those who get affected by this bacteria, they have to do an antibiotic course containing multiple types of antibiotics, mostly two or more types of antibiotics to completely eradicate it. And in a lot of cases it can come back because a lot of people surrounding you are already having this bacteria, and if you're sharing food with them and like utensils and clothes and such, so it can again infect the person already treated with it. And iron can promote esophageal cancer incident, and also it makes Helicobacter pylori bacteria grow easily inside the stomach. I don't know what is the mechanism for that, but it does that according to this study. This is a population-based case control study of adenocarcinoma of the esophagus and stomach. A population-based case control study where the number is 124 subjects, and for esophagus 154 subjects for stomach, and 449 controls in Nebraska. The conclusion is that our results suggest that high intakes of heme and iron from meat may be important dietary risk factors for esophageal and stomach cancer, and may partly explain associations with red meat. I will link this study and you can go through it if you want. It is a long study. Here are some observations, some tables. Red meat, processed red meat, although they are measuring the red meat food source, but heme iron is also the same. Heme iron is also contained in eggs. So here we go, the heme iron, meat iron, total iron, and then the discussion. It is a long study. So even though the egg contains all these nutrients, but it also contains heme iron, and heme iron has been associated with cancer, stroke, heart disease, and metabolic syndrome. Let me see what is metabolic syndrome. It's a cluster of conditions that occur together, increasing a risk of heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Okay. Increased blood pressure, high blood sugar, excess body fat. Okay, so it is related to heart and diabetes. It's a pretty bad thing to eat. This is a BBC article. Let's read through it. Are eggs helpful to our health or a cause of heart disease? Eggs are a very good source of vitamin E, as we have seen. Okay, it's not mentioned here. Let me see. Vitamin E, which is absorbed along with dietary fats, is often found in oils, seeds, and nuts. Eggs, a nutrient rich food containing essential amino acids, unsaturated fatty acids, and B vitamins, also contain a small amount of vitamin E. Alright, they also contain some vitamin E. But for decades, eating eggs has also been controversial due to high cholesterol content. One egg yolk contains around 185 milligrams of cholesterol. And the daily limit is 300 milligrams for an adult. Cholesterol is a yellowish fat produced in our liver and intestines, and it can be found in every one of our body's cells. We normally think of it as bad, but cholesterol is a crucial building block in our cell membranes. It's also needed for the body to make vitamin D and the hormones testosterone and estrogen. But it's also found in animal produce like beef, prawn, and eggs, as well as cheese and butter. Cholesterol is transported around our body by lipoprotein molecules in the blood. Every person has different combination of various types of lipoproteins, and our individual makeup plays a role in determining our risk of developing heart disease. LDL cholesterol, which is low density lipoprotein, is transported from the liver to arteries and body tissues. And this is the one which can increase the risk of cardiovascular diseases. While the cholesterol in eggs is much higher than in meat and other animal products, saturated fat increases blood cholesterol. And eggs are low in saturated fat. Eggs are the only food along with prawns, eggs are the only food high in cholesterol but low in saturated fat. And saturated fat increases blood cholesterol. One research found no relationship between eating eggs and an increased risk of cardiovascular diseases. In 2015 review of 40 studies, Johnson and a team of researchers couldn't find any conclusive evidence of the relationship between dietary cholesterol and heart disease. Okay, so a lot of studies are finding that cholesterol is not linked to heart disease. That's what this article is suggesting. Cholesterol may even pose less of a health risk. Cholesterol is more harmful when oxidized in our arteries, but oxidation doesn't happen to the cholesterol in eggs. When cholesterol is oxidized, it may be more inflammatory, and there are all kinds of antioxidants in eggs that protect it from being oxidized. Also, some cholesterol may actually be good for us, like HDL, which travels to the liver where it's broken down and removed from the body. HDL does have a protective effect against cardiovascular disease by preventing cholesterol from building up in the blood. And what matters is the ratio of HDL to LDL in our bodies. There is one research published earlier this year, and it it incidentally challenged the recent consensus that eggs pose no harm to our health. Researchers looked at data from 30,000 adults followed for an average of 17 years and found that each additional half an egg per day was significantly linked to a higher risk of heart disease and death. We found that for every additional 300 milligram cholesterol person consumed, regardless of food it came from, they had an 17% increased risk of cardiovascular disease and 18% increased risk of all-cause mortality. So this study goes the opposite way. We also found that each half egg per day led to 6% increased risk of heart disease and 8% increased risk of mortality. Despite the study being one of the largest of its kind to address this specific relationship between eggs and heart disease, it was observational, giving no indication of cause and effect. It also relied upon a single set of self-reported data. Participants were asked whether they ate over the previous month or year, then followed up their health outcomes for up to 31 years. This means the researchers only got a single snapshot of what the participants were eating, even though our diets can change over time. And the study conflicts with past results. Numerous studies suggest eggs are good for our health. One previous analysis of 500,000 adults in China, published in 2018, even found the exact opposite, that it lowers the risk of heart disease. Good egg. Egg contains choline, which help protect us against Alzheimer's disease. It also protects the liver. This is a study published in Nature. And let me zoom in. Okay, here we go. Maternal choline supplementation ameliorates Alzheimer's disease pathology by reducing brain homocysteine levels across multiple generations. Ameliorates, I think it means reduces or make better. Okay, it makes Alzheimer's disease pathology better. That means that it reduces the complications by reducing homocysteine levels. So egg contains choline and it also protects the liver. As evident from this study, choline metabolism provides novel insights into non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and its progression. Choline influences liver function, and the dietary requirement for this nutrients varies depending on an individual's genotype and estrogen status. Choline deficient diets, including those that are also deficient in methionine or methionine, have long been utilized to study the mechanisms of fatty liver disease and its progression, because such diets recapitulate many of the phenotypes seen in humans with NAFLD. Choline is a potent modifier of epigenetic marks on genes. Okay, so choline stops the progression of fatty liver disease, is what I am getting from this article. And choline deficiency progresses to hepatocarcinoma, as it is displayed in this diagram. Normal liver and choline deficiency, it progresses to carcinoma due to various processes happening inside the body, happening inside the cell, like decreased methylation capacity, mitochondrial dysfunction, reactive oxygen species damage to DNA. So back to the BBC article. It protects against Alzheimer's disease, it protects the liver, but it may have negative effects too. Choline is metabolized by gut microbiota into a molecule called TMO, which is then absorbed into people's livers and converted to TMAO, a molecule associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. However, TMAO is measured as a marker for heart disease only at a baseline level, which can be detected when people are fasting. But elevated blood sugar levels are only associated with diabetes when these levels are continuous. This may be because when we eat eggs, we might only get choline's beneficial effects. The problem is when, instead of being absorbed into the blood, choline continues to the liver, large intestine, where it can become TMA and then TMAO. But in eggs, choline is absorbed and doesn't go to the large intestine, so it doesn't increase the risk of heart disease. There's one more protein called lutein, and egg yolks are one of the best sources of lutein, a pigment that has been linked to a better eyesight and lower risk of eye disease. There are two types of lutein found in the retina of the eye, where it can protect the retina from light damage by working as a blue light filter, as exposure to light makes the eye deteriorate. So it acts as a filter, just like we use filters on our DSLR cameras to protect the lens, to protect the sensor. Even so, having eggs for breakfast every day probably isn't healthiest option either, at least as it's recommended we have a varied diet rather than put all our eggs in one basket. Pun intended, I guess. So I think the verdict is that eggs are generally good for health, but they also contain some harmful elements like heme iron and cholesterol, so it's better to eat them in moderation and give give it some break. Don't eat eggs every day, every morning. Cycle it, like eat some eat oatmeal one day, then maybe 2 days eggs, then again take some other thing, so it doesn't harm you and it also provides all the nutrients which your body needs.